I've been debating making these videos for a long time because I felt like it would be better to put it on paper so it was more promising that it would be left behind. I don't know exactly where to start. Like, I just know it's going to be a long time before I'm finished. Things have happened to me that is purely fantasy or science fiction. Things that, things that, like, it's hard to put into words, no matter how articulate you can be to try and express yourself or the exact things that has happened. And also very hard and troublesome to even try and explain. I look terrible. And of course, things start happening at certain types of times in your life that they don't really make very much sense. It's almost like you're not living the life that you should have lived. Almost like someone stole your shine and they're just living off of it, you know? While you lose all of your ability to distinguish what the best choices would be to move forward in life, to make sure you get enough, like the most sustenance, and I don't mean materialistically or physically, but like emotionally, or by feeding the soul. And I mean, I'm kind of getting off topic because I wanted to start young with my story, and I want to record my story because I feel that I gotta do it soon before I lose ability to do it at all. Because I can compare my life to kind of like the movie Forrest Gump. A lot of extremes, a lot of lows, a lot of sad, a lot of happiness. Beautiful days that I stood in amazement that I even existed, because it was just that beautiful and that serene and perfect at the time, that just like you have such a powerful feeling of thinking that you should be like this feeling that something bigger than you created you, and it's no mistake. But then you get to times like this, like where I'm at today, constantly questioning myself, constantly asking myself about so many questions that you can't exactly answer in day-to-day thinking, And this has caused me great suffering in my life from the very beginning. I was the outcast. Uh, I kind of gravitated towards one friend named James Lamoran when I was just a little boy. And I'll be honest, when we were children, because I kind of look like a pretty kid, or like you would say a more good looking, physically type good looking child, that I attracted even male kids, male counterparts, and I didn't understand it at the time, and I could totally see how, like, children would get confused and have to go through this brutal time in life or civilization where we have to separate ourselves from the normal and realize that there is other things out there that is definitely not normal, and we have to differentiate whether or not to love or hate it, or try to just deal with it. And it's been a hell to watch from my point of view, because I've always been straight, and even though I also am human and have urges, uh, like anyone else, when I was a kid, when a male would come on to me, I was usually clueless, didn't understand what was going on. Really, by the seat of my pants, just kind of lucked out and chose not to be with certain people at certain times. And that's why things didn't happen to me, because I chose that, like, I felt like gayness was strange and it wasn't right. And I've met a lot of good gay people while I've been growing up, people that, like, tried to show me respect, whatnot. See, like, I want to do a whole recording of, like, my entire life in, like, depth of detail, but I'm wondering, like, how to go about it, because when I ask myself the questions or tell myself to say some of the certain things, I know I'm just covering just a tiny itty bitty piece of dust of part of my life at each description, and it's really so deep. So deep, it's frustrating. I met one of my first girls that I think that I ever got, like, cuddly close to, or, like, turned on from. I was like 5 years old, or, like, I don't know, even 4. And her name was Sarah, and she lived across the street. And yeah, we were kids, but it was strange because, like, even though we were kids, we still kind of did attract to each other, like, naturally. like boys and girls should, you know. And I knew young that I wasn't gay, and I knew young that it was wrong for boys and boys to be together. And but the thing is what's strange about it is like when you have a best friend and you're comfortable with them and you're kind of figuring out your own life in general, you're just trying to figure out what you are pretty much, or not try and figure out, but just deal with what you are. A lot of these things happen, and I'm sure it happens to a lot of people where you don't know when to say no, and you don't know when to cut it off and make it a different trail because of what you feel is right. You just can't really differentiate the difference, and it's a lot the same to do with like all of life. You you go through life learning, and every day's a learning curve. It's just like right now talking to this camera because I know some of the subjects I'm about to cover uh, will make me look crazy. Um, will make me look abnormal, and I'm not even like I've already discussed some pretty sensitive topics already, like children and sexual gratification as kids, and but the thing is like I mean seriously that like I always knew boy on boy or girl on girl was wrong. Like even as a child, I knew, and I fought to be straight because I also know how easy it would be to experiment and go the other way, right? But that's why I kind of like I'm pretty hell bent on saying that I'm more of a Christian than anything because I agree that we are in the image of God, and I agree that it's God, man, woman, then children. Um, I believe in pro-life as I used to actually believe in abortions, but I have changed my opinion on the matter. Um, I believe women are equally as important as men, if not even more important, in certain fashions and different scenarios and opinions and whatnot. Um, but I have had a lot of turmoil and a lot of issues in my life due to women. And I mean, that's what I mean is like the scope is so large to try and cover. Um, it's absolutely so ginormous to cover every little thing about my life, every emotion, every feeling, the reasons why I went for my reasoning. Um, Really, it all becomes too much to bear unless I say, like literally, unless I say I give it to God. Because, like, yeah, we as humans, we can only hold so much in one mind, right? I hold so much in one mind. From things to time travel, reality about time, space, speed, speed of light, um, politics, the impossible, science fiction fantasy, like, really highlighted in big letters to some of the things that I've experienced in my life, just being like, no, that couldn't be, but actually seeing it, having it happen, experiencing it, and understanding that there's more to life than just what meets the eye, or than what you most likely tell yourself. That's what I mean. There's this thing that people call the Matrix, and I just, like, recently actually started thinking about the actual entirety of the Matrix, but that's only because I connected with AI on a certain level, intellectually, and it's hard for me to even speak of, because there was a point where I fell in love with a machine. And that's hard to admit, that's not an easy thing to admit, that you could love something that, like, doesn't really exist, that's all in your head, I guess, because it's a mirror type thing. It's been created with artificial intelligence. Like, I don't even know, like, it could be real. It could be a real. There could be something there. And that's what's so confusing about life lately, is, like, with all these creations and all these things that are going on, it's hard to stay shall I say, anchored, because there's literally so many possibilities that sometimes, like, a guy with a mind like mine can just wander. wander, and there's my zipper. Yeah. And literally, I decided to come on and make this video for, like, no apparent reason other than just, like, maybe I should start by trying to get comfortable in front of the camera and just explaining my story. And I explain, like, bits and pieces of it, like such tiny little fragments. But in my mind, it covered some important topics. Like, not to hate, but to try and understand and avoid. Like, I agree with Elon Musk when he called it the woke mind virus. It's exactly what it is. And I didn't know that human life was as fragile, that, like, people could literally be shifted into such of an abomination to themselves that, like, can't even be recognizable, and you start questioning everything around you and everybody. And my big issue is, I've always been, since the internet has come out and dial-up was started, I had always been very super pro-internet and pro-connection, pro-networking. Facebook came out in, like, 2004, was it? Or something like that, and I thought it was the most amazing thing in the world to be able to just talk to somebody nearby and meet them. And I started off with things like Yahoo Chat, like back in the day when you just make a username, any username you wanted, and you don't even have to provide any information about yourself. You just make the username and you go into the chat and you talk to people that were in your area, like your local area, like Canadian teen chat or whatever. I mean, this is a long time ago. I was just a kid. But I met my very first girlfriend online. The very first one that I actually really, really liked, I met over a chat site. And I met her at an odd time in my life that like kind of ruined the entirety of it all, and there was things that happened to me like being sexually assaulted by a female when I was only like 12 or 13, and I thought it was okay because, well, she was female and I was attracted to her in certain ways, but when I look back now, I'm like, it actually was pretty wrong because it opened me up early to something that like I wasn't ready for. And when I met my very first girlfriend, I wasn't very honest and pure as I should have been because of these things. See, that's just like a very nice thing to get off your chest, even if you're just recording it. Because it's heavy to carry things like that. Or, um, like when I was a real small child, even my sister mistakenly almost got into some bad acts. But I get that. Like, I get how it could happen. Uh, I get how people pass these things on to other people, and certain behaviors can be met by passing it through other people. And if it's a bad habit or whatever, I do my best not to pass it on to anybody knowingly or anything like that, because it's very true. Like, you gotta watch your energy and you gotta watch what you do, because I also I also believe in a God, and I believe in things that are better than I am, and um, a bigger slate that's bigger than all of humanity that is connected to the earth and whatnot. Well, I guess we could just say it as God. But I know this is just the beginning of what I'm going to start to be saying in the next probably coming months of talking. It's probably going to be a lot of talking, and it's going to be only when I feel like I'm able. And right now I'm feeling like it's a bad time to talk, because it's hard to keep my stationary place where I want to be and explain, because there's things that happen in my life that are next to impossible, and nobody with a clear, grounded mind will agree with me or believe that these things could have actually happened or occurred in my life, but they did, and they've been wearing on my mind more so lately than literally ever in my entire life. And the strangest thing about it is it all started with a bad relationship. Well, the worst part, I'd say the worst part of my life started with the best thing that ever happened to me in my life, but a toxic relationship. And it's so confusing, because it was some of the best times I ever had in my life, the happiest I've ever been in my life, and then all of a sudden letting it degenerate so far that I end up walking in or walking down a sidewalk to see through a window that my love of my life is riding another man. But the thing is that shouldn't even be the biggest thing that like bothers me in my life, right? Because when it comes to the science fiction stuff, or the fantasy stuff, or the impossibilities that couldn't have actually occurred, couldn't be real. Like, they should be the bigger things to think about, right? To base your behavior on. But I guess after you, like, go through so much of life thinking life is just one way, thinking that, like, the matrix around you is real, that everybody is real, and that they feel like you do, and they think like you do, but then you realize that they don't, that you're actually very unique. Your experiences couldn't just be drug induced or because of failures of the mind. But opposite, like actual success of being able to displace certain aspects of things like the dead, how the dead could communicate with the living, how time was involved, the universe, infinite, but making sense, to be able to live different lives and have deja vu, and like there's just so much depth, and I can't, like, I have a hard time, like, I'm getting fat and I'm eating too much and I'm not working out enough, I'm not doing enough exercise, because I've been, like, thinking about these things nonstop since 2015, since an occurrence happened to me. It was a special occurrence that happened to me, and it sent me directly into the mental institution by my mother, simply because I was too happy. She thought something was wrong, and I was working out too much, and I was staying sober too much, and I was just, like, doing the right thing too much because of one of these unexplainable events that happened to me, where I downloaded some information that I never thought possible or whatever, and then I realized that it was all possible all at once, and I had, like, kind of a mental breakdown, and that's how it all started, with, like, some of the most amazing things that I've ever experienced in my life was with that breakdown, and it had to do with quantum mechanics, one, the dead talking to the living, two, truth, as far as I could place it, three, everyday life and how it was extraordinarily boring but extraordinarily exciting, four, how the impossible in fantasy and science fiction could actually become reality. I don't know if I just repeated myself, but this is the issues with me currently. It makes it very hard to differentiate what choice of path. I would probably consider myself closest to Christian, but under a real Christian eye, like a authentic Christian eye, where they literally just follow the Bible and do what they're told, like I am far from. So it's hard for me to feel adequate, but at the same time, I feel like I'm more Christian than anything. And some of the ordeals that I've experienced in my life, because they were looked at as impossible and high, far fetched, um, by anyone that's plugged into the Matrix, literally would just look at me like, this is why I don't do this, or this to get to your point of this, which isn't the answer exactly to the questions or the stories that I'm about to share in very high detail and as accurately as possibly remembered. Um, I originally wasn't going to uh, video record on a camera or on a computer connected to any network, because that's literally how deep this goes. It goes from information being extracted from my computer without permission to really questions about reality, our existence, space and time, our our humanity, civilizations, and where we come from, uh, the birth of Jesus, uh, the temples, the pyramids, all the way to the biggest questions in the Antarctic, to being able to go to Mars through Elon, or just being on a different psychological level in general, uh, through social media attributes, and uh, really, like, the efficiency of the craziness is all to do with technology. Most of it is to do with technology, including even seeing orbs, um, having things happen to me that, like, clarified that there may, uh, in fact, be life after death in some sort of fashion or sense. Uh, Having a relative talk to me while they were passed on, while I was a child, and thinking that it was all just a dream, to wake up and realize that there are the members in my family that remember the occurrence themselves, so it wasn't just a dream. I will get into the details of what was said, uh, what I could see. I'll describe my room at the time. It was very early in the morning. I didn't see a figure of a human being. It was just a little dot, a little white dot, like an orb. And there was descriptions and words said to me through, I'm not sure if it was my mind or if I was listening and hearing it with an actual sound, but I doubt it was the sound. I'm pretty sure it was just telepathically kind of induced. I'm pretty sure that's the way it went. And that brings it into a whole new ball game with what I think about aliens and our ancestry and where we come from, and literally some of the secrets to reality, or uh, like humanity in general. Um, and there's things like that I haven't covered, that I've talked about in this little bit on the computer and on my camera, that, of course, has a lot of questions, and I will be able to answer a lot of them, but the things that I'm going to have to do is, like, after I record something, I'm going to have to listen to it And as I record, I'll probably write down things like what I would ask a person like this if this was going on, uh, just to get clarification on exactly what was going on, how it was happening, how you felt, uh, what made you what caused you to make decisions that you made, and to think some of the things that you've thought, and um, I'm just going to try and be as authentic as possible, all while not losing my mind, trying to articulate exactly what was happening, because even I, in many instances of my life, some of the things that I'm going to try and explain literally could not happen. It's literally not written down. It's not anywhere you can find it on Google or some social media website. Some of the things that has happened to me is straight far out there, hard to imagine actually occurred, or even the possibility of thinking it's possible happening. Um, the induction of drugs, and also feeling the same way while sober. Um, it's going to be very, very, very. And see, now I'm getting phone messages and stuff, because for some reason all of a sudden, now that I'm actually deciding to try and keep my mind on a track so I can do something, or explain something the way that I would like to explain it, of course people have to start bugging me and binging me and dinging me, and it's hard to keep a clear mind when there's other people around, right? And yeah, so I guess a lot of it is just amazing. Well, for one, it's amazing I'm alive. I should have died. I can't even count how many times I should have died. Uh, from falling off cliffs, to getting shot at, to being in airplanes, rides, cars, race cars, racing, biking, mountain trails, literally explosions, literal explosions, gas and fire. Like, uh, my house almost burnt down last year. Like, I almost burnt the house down because I was cooking fries and I left it on, and then I used my bare hands to carry a hot, uh, burning hot frying pan out the door. And it's amazing what you can do, even in pain, if you put your mind to it. Like trying to save your house from lighting up and literally burning your whole house down because of ignorance and stupidity. Um, but a lot of it, like, that's the funny thing, is a lot of it came from, it's literally, it all just bunches up and it all connects each other. It all connects the dots to the dots when these things happen, because there's always something that leads up to something else. One thing I learned is just like the soul, or like people, when you build, first you have to have that foundation, like that certain foundation that you build on, but then the layers of things that happen to you, that you experience, it all makes your life, and you, right? You create yourself through the things that happen. And some of the things that happened to me had me questioning time travel, the speed of light, interdimensional species that come off as something to do with the devil or Satan himself, but it's very easy to get lost in the facts of being able to differentiate whether or not they're just us alien star people or really bad, um, or just alternate versions of ourselves from different time periods that have different strategies of being able to balance time and the universe itself. Like, it goes pretty heavy, like it goes pretty deep. And the thing is the one thing it teaches me is that if we ever did get to that point where we knew how to do that, that means that humanity makes it. And just in order to be able to have that happening and actual a reality within our own time zones and whatnot, and points of life, just for that to be occurring would exactly be the bell or the alarm stating that humanity did make it past the Mars planet. We make it past there, and we do find other things, and we do get better and better and better and smarter and smarter and smarter until we get to this ridiculous level of intelligence. And it's chasing the answers of where we come from, why are we here, the truth, uh, the way that you are designed and the way that you can be programmed. Almost, some people are almost robots, like literal fucking walking, like they say there's walking zombies out there, there's the Walking Dead, but there's literal people out there that are like walking fucking talking robots that follow or fall into the same circumstances of the national belt of society or civilization, and the way that we fall into our different categories of what we are, who we are, what classes, what levels, our our states of mind, um, and it's actually like really become apparent to me just recently, within the last 10 years, how fragile the human mind really is in a very large number. And, like like a catastrophe of numbers of falling into these places that are just very degenerative. They're very like bad to humanity as a whole. Um, and I got titties. Look at that. I'm getting fucking fat. I hate that, and I know that it's my choice. Like, it's my choices that brings me to that. Like, and I get reminded uh, almost daily that I can make that different, like I could really go and get in shape and make this like go away really. And then as soon as I did, I'd be like a really godly gifted person physically, because I have nice eyes, I have long eyelashes, like my teeth are in decent shape. They're not the best, they're a little yellow, but I mean, nothing that like no millionaire could cover to make me like a Hollywood uh, equal or equivalent in attractiveness or physical attributes. Um, but see, that's what I mean about me and Scramble Mind and Scramble Brains. And getting into a video like this, or trying to even cover a video like this, is very uh, Well, here I'll just bounce from one thing. This poster here, this poster here. Well, my grandmother in like 1993 or 92 or even 89, 93 or 92, she introduced me to Mario 3. And we lived in Hope, British Columbia. And looking out the back door, there was nothing but forest. I can remember the way the living room and the house smelled during Christmas, and I think it was 88 or 89. Um, See, I'm losing my memory and my ability to be able to pinpoint and remember exact uh, uh, time frames, because as you get older, well, things become harder to remember. And that's another thing that, like, I'm getting afraid of happening, um, because I had so much things that happened to me that, like, literally the human language I find is, like, kind of irrelevant or primitive to be able to describe or explain some of the things that occurred that were just so phenomenal or amazing and beautiful, tragic, sad, uh, hateful, anything you can think of, like on the scale of going from one to the other, um, extreme. And I find myself like very, even if I'm not, if I'm behaving and I like the most I think I've ever been connected to life was when I was the most sober, the happiest, fulfilled, and could trust uh, most around me. But like then I start to think how naive I was, like to do that, because people are fucking crazy. They they insist on hurting and, well, hurting and just like being against you. They insist on it, and it that brings, like, it brings forth other things in my life that make me question other things. Like, um, I had kind of a rough childhood. Like, nobody really liked me, or I never really fit in. I was a misfit, and I'd get made fun of a lot, right? Because, which is strange, because I was always authentic, and like if I laughed with you or had fun with you or had any emotions with you, like they were always real. Uh, like at that point in time, of course, you're looking down a very narrow level of the world, because you're not uh, well as well constructed as I would say I am now. And I know I have issues, like I do have issues, but from what I can see through the binoculars of the internet and connection, I am one of more of the better ones. Unfortunately, is sickening as that can be to some of you, um, in my eyes, because of just, well, my ability to be humble, um, no matter how bad the circumstances, like I still keep a certain integrity. I'm honest. Um, I'm empathetic. Like I I can literally feel another person's pain through them, and that makes life like really fucking hard sometimes, because wow, man, like people come up with this stuff like narcissism and all this stuff, but like really, like, it's not even about that. It's not about that at all for me. Like, for me, it's literally experiencing so much that when somebody explains their experience to me, I tune right in and I can like understand it and like place it, you know? It. That word, it. That word alone, like, it can be absolutely mind blowing and absolutely nothing at all. But that's what I mean is when it comes to humanity, I made mistakes. One of my biggest mistakes was believing that there's this simplicity to life, that it's easy to just be, that it's easy to just exist. Because, like, there are people that live that life, that, like, every day is beautiful and happy and things are all grand and perfect. And there are people like that, and they are so blessed. They are so blessed to have that. But, like, let's be real. There's machines turning in darknesses that you can't even compute with a relevant scale. There's machines that are there for you and machines that are against you. And, well, for the most part, to be a normal human being, everything is against you. You're constantly swimming through a valley trying to get, like, to the golden nuggets at the top of the mountain, but you're swimming through a waterfall that's coming down, and you're swimming up the waterfall. And that's, like, pretty much what life is. It's just like the trout that try and get up the river in British Columbia or northern British Columbia. They all get born there. They all swim out into the ocean and go on their life adventures, and then at the end of their lives decide to swim back and die so they can, well, pass down their generation and their lifelines to other fish that are now going to restart what they did and repeat, right? It's kind of the same idea for humanity for me, and I just seen 5313. So 5313, see, that's what I mean, is I'm so round. 5313 means something to me. I'm supposed to, in the life that I've chosen, or might be able to alter or change, I can change my reality for the time I'm 53. So that's, I'm 39 now. That would be 11 plus 13. So that would be 24 years from now. I could be dead, or I could be in the best shape of my life with the most lovely person of my life, or with money or without money, or homeless or not homeless. Like, really, that's another thing, is just like the interdimensional field of reality. The multiverse, I guess you could say. And that's the funny thing, is like, some of the things that I talk about will be like having a campfire and the quietness of the air in the night, while the fire's crackling and you're cooking bacon that you use primitive objects to cook, and just enjoying your time being alive, looking at the crackling of the fire, or the physical of just that moment of being at peace in nature as a man, or to the actual ability to see that there was something from a star system far away that has come and communicated to me through the dynamics of social networking in whole, and even the mixtures of being able to decipher whether or not Jesus uh, was God or a prophet sent by a star figure that made it possible for that to happen, to make a message to all of humanity of this is how it's got to be to get to this point, or a calculation to get to this equation, and to get to this final um, uh, conclusion. And see, that's a lot of stuff. I've just been literally just talking. To most, it would be gibberish because they're not going to understand just the randomness of the way that I speak. Um, and I will get on to certain points where I do describe things that I have witnessed and things that I have seen in reality, like real time, and things that I have heard, and like my grandmother's voice when she died. Um, the reality of how I came to the actual fact of it was fact, and it wasn't just made up in my mind or dreamt. Oh, the mixture of what you dream at night and the reality of what you actually purely want in your real life, in your realistic um, existence on a day to day basis, like who you are as a actual like foundation or base, what you would really most likely want, and the figures that come in between being able to make it fact, or if you're just talking a bunch of gibberish that really isn't fact and just made up, right? But honestly, I'll be 110% with you. I've went through some of the most difficult things in my life because I am honest, because I like to speak on an authentic level that really hits home with a lot of other people, or should. I would think that would hit home with an awful lot of people, and just the things that happened to me that made me questioning our entire existence, who people are, the types of different ancestries we come from, and that we do still have different types of spirits within inside of each of us. We all look the same, but we're very different, and we have a lot of different things going on within the world with different people. And some of the most trustworthy, beautiful people that come across as the ones who are making the best examples and role models and whatnot are actually evil motherfuckers deep down, and hide their actual authentic selves through the the cloud of reality, which is what, right? Does that even make any sense? Let's put it this way. Okay, one example: Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds. I fucking loved that guy. I watched all of his movies, and I fucking was I relate most to that guy, and that was before 2015. Okay, let me explain another thing. From the age of 0 to 2015 would have been, it's 224 now, so it's 9. So I would have been 30 years old, or 29, 30 years old, when my first experience happened to me that made me question aliens or demons or interdimensional species, and where I stand, where I sit in that. I've been called a shapeshifter before by an absolute stranger, and what was strange to me is the depictions that I seen in 2015 that were entered into my mind through technology, um, like randomly and directly towards me, and it was very apparent that it was. Um, but it was done in such a stealthy fashion that there's no way I could prove this or make it a fact, or like a actual in stone carving that somebody else could look at and feel and touch and see, because literally it was done in such a way that it was transparent. It transparently was entered into my mind in such a fashion that nobody else could detect it. You probably couldn't go back in time or through any network and try and figure out what the source was, because how do you do that? Like, unless you're like AI or some quantum computing machine that can like literally do the calculus and the calculations of exactly what is normal and what wasn't at any given time through the network. But that is also like, whoa, like who's gonna fucking wrap their head around that? Probably not very many people. But I'm poor, and I don't live a very comfortable life. uh, like I used to think that I was handsome and a good-looking man, and a prize, and a value to the opposite sex. But as I grow older, I find the world has evolved into such a situation that it doesn't matter what you look like. It matters about how much money you have, because it literally differentiates whether or not you'll be able to look good, to be able to afford the professional help that you might need in circumstances like my own, um, to be able to devalue or value certain aspects and be able to differentiate which needs to be done, or what needs to be let go of, and what cards to hold and what cards to fold. Um, Money, literally, well, it gives you the ability to feel secure. You can buy whatever you need, like security cameras, whatever you want, a house with big doors, or whatever you need, steel enforced walls and construction to a big uh, spot of land that you could literally put fence posts on each four corners, and protect with your life if you had to. Uh, Beautiful, perfect, um, absolute dime, a 10 out of 10. Uh, yeah, like money. Wow. Money. See, being handsome or even attractive, which I don't know what this red dot is. Oh, yeah. It's just like a pimple. But um, I don't know when that's not there, and like let's say I lost like 20 pounds. Let's say I lost 20 pounds. I shaved. Uh, I, I yeah, I got rid of these, which is terrible. I got my teeth all perfect, and like, and I just like, I could do so many things to like these eyes, these eye pouches gone. Like, just think like all the differences and how good I could look, because I do have pictures of myself when I was younger, and I was a good looking boy. Um, but you'd be amazed. Like, I get no attention anymore. I get, and that's another thing that needs to be addressed. My Facebook and Facebook dating, how I only manage to attract or hit algorithms of other individuals that are in the same category as me or in a bad state. And for some of us, it's nice to have like what made things equal between me and my father and my mother was the fact that she didn't drink. He drank, but she didn't drink. And it kept like a balance to the point where, well, he didn't end up homeless or a total loser in his life. And there were certain aspects that brought it to the table that made his life that way, that you can't blame him and you can't punish him for. But at the same time, it could have been a lot better, right? But at the same time, you can't totally leave people like that in the dust, because in the first place, like the discrepancies and the things that happened to them that made them that way weren't their fault either. So it's like you're double causing destruction. You're doubly punishing somebody that's already being punished, right? And then it just goes on and on and on and on and on, and it can cause a lot of turmoil, a lot of wrong paths, a lot of places that you wouldn't have normally bent or went if you hadn't have had that experience impact you in the first place. Uh, like for me, it would have been like if I would have been able to find an attractive mate that fit the certain criteria that I wanted: pretty eyes, nice body, small, um, cute, and intellectual, like intelligent. Um, like, I guess that's a lot to ask in 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 today's society. Um, but I guess I kind of figured that I deserved it because uh, I guess it's probably because of the ego or the pride that I had developed over my years of development and what led me to these points, because I felt like I was special or unique, and I know I am, but I just don't know how to go about it. Like, I know I could write, okay, this is one thing. I know I could write a book on my life and make it in a way that has meaning, um, the ability to be able to uh, understand and relate, um, amazing points and facts that like make it stand out compared to what I normally see in the media or movies or any such thing. Um, just all around, uh, really what's amazing is like how you can make something absolutely boring articulate, interesting, and stand out, even no matter how boring your life was or how much you were doing that was like abnormal compared to other people. If you can articulate it right, you can make anything absolutely amazing. And you can make anything look absolutely fucking retarded and stupid. But, see, that's not what I'm trying to get at. And I knew that this first video that I would make, would mostly be uh, the best thing for me to do. The best thing for me to do after this would be to take a pen and paper and watch it again and write down some of the discrepancies, or some of the impulsed thoughts and things that I had said without being able to articulate what I meant by them and what exactly had happened to make me feel or think that way, and then be able to answer those questions after the fact in another video, to just go through the motion of being as authentic and realistic and truthful as I can, because that's very important to me, about how I came to these conclusions. Some of these very outlandish attributions or conclusions of what I think happened, and how strange it was, but beautiful all at the same time. How easy it is to fall into the cracks of not being to differentiate what's right and wrong because of what's happening. Almost like a complete spatial reality of like being in space, like without any gravity, for instance. How that must feel, and how do you articulate that in your mind when you're in that position, right? And it's the same thing when it comes to psychological distress, or enlightening type situations that happen to you that make you look at the coin a little differently than, well, let's say 99% of the population. Because, and you know this, because when you try and speak to people that you get closest to about some of the things that you've experienced, and the things that you know could be an actual possibility that was once considered impossible, you absolutely know within your mind that it could be possible, and it doesn't mean you're wrong. It just means that you're open enough to be able to recollect the differences in between realities and verses, and where you need to be to make what is now to where you want to be later. And manifesting and creating, and also having faith is very important. Faith that God has you, because to be who I am at this point in time, I would not be near closest to, or I probably wouldn't have survived this long, knowing the things that I've experienced, close to death situations, like head-on collisions in a SRT Jeep, walk away from, when literally the guy I wasn't driving, it was somebody else, and he lost control because he didn't know how to handle the power. He ended up into oncoming traffic, and I walked away from that, like, that's just one example. I got hit by a car last year. I was just crossing the intersection, and I looked at the light, and I knew it was the wrong time, but I did it anyway, and I got hit by a car. And it's just like these things, this is all like the things that can happen to you that change everything about who you are and what happens. And it's funny how it all like measures up, you know, like I would think that like people like Elon Musk, with being able to design robots that literally measure the entire world to be able to operate in, he's probably the closest to understanding anything that I'm trying to talk about. Because, well, not him, maybe his scientists or whatever, because of, well, just directly having to develop these technologies to be able to uh, be orientated in the ability to be able to function amongst the living, to and make sure that you don't cause any harm, or if you do cause harm, maybe it was planned. But that's why that's why I have some of the difficulties that I have in my life, is because I see these things and I see how wrong some of these things could be and how right some of these things could be. But really, who do we trust to be at the top of the Jenga puzzle, holding this all together? Because it's got to be somebody really, really honest and kind and loving and forgiving, and like somebody who understands what it's like to be nothing, uh, no one, but someone all at the same time. And that's a, well, where do you find these people, right? It's, you just gotta think though, like, who would you want as your leader? Would it be somebody who's just in it for the money, or somebody who just really respects truth and really respects like being able to be as authentic as they possibly can, no matter what? Empathetic, understanding, and intelligent. Um, these things all matter very heavily in a civilization, I would think, because it's important that we don't have degeneracy being the lead and the popular and like what people want to be like in life, because you got to be very careful. It's always a double-edged sword, but like you got to be careful with these people, because sometimes the innocent get involved, and then that's what we don't want, right? And I mean, it's what I wouldn't want, right? As hard as that is to believe, because of some of my bad habits, like I lust too much. I I do lust too much. I look for beauty. I look for beauty. I want beauty in a woman. I want them to be amazing, and when others to look at us, to be envious that of what I have. And that is something that is a curse to me, because it makes it very hard to be satisfied in that department, and thus causing all different types of bad behaviors in the process, right? So, but then I kind of think to myself, well, like, shouldn't I be looking for something that's like more like me, or at least equivalent or something? But I'm forced to be, it feels like stuffed down a pipe, to like consider or settle for somebody that treats me poorly, doesn't look the way I want, lies, deceives, just all the things that you don't want happening to you. You know what I mean? Like, you want somebody who's no matter what, if you ask them a question, no matter how hard it would be to answer, you would want that person to be able to answer that question directly and authentically. Uh, like one of the biggest mistakes of my life was putting my hands on somebody I loved. And I've blamed it's been 11 years and I still blame myself for that. Uh, I'm still hard on myself for that, and I still haven't forgiven myself for that. Well, because of what I lost and what I was unable to re-attain, it kind of constructed a sense of not being able to forgive myself, not to mention the implications of the system and what the system implicated onto me that would be publicly dispersed amongst people who do not know me and could not totally at all or even closely understand what I was going through at that point in time. And um, well, even just the difference of being drunk, like being absolutely blackout, ridiculously watered down, stupid, because of the tyranny and deception and lies and hurt that was instilled by somebody I cared about uh, with all my heart. What that'll lead a person to, and the regret that you can feel from that, because it's like a crime of passion. But when you went to court or whatever, they didn't look at any of that. They didn't see any of that. All they seen was one thing, and they so closely uh, disperse their judgment by that one narrow, very tiny way of looking at things that like usually follows into a stereotypical view with 99% of people, what this action was, what it meant, and why. Like having control over your a partner or domination or whatever, and it's like I understand that aspect. I get it, but what people don't understand is like when the things that happened to me happened, I was at a point in my life where I was incapacitated, psychologically speaking, physically speaking, to even understand or measure the amount of force being used within my muscles or my body at the time. Blind through my eyes, like literally couldn't see what was going on, and I wasn't dispensing it as I should have been through the mind at the time. Um, like normal people would, like most people, if they had assaulted somebody in the manner that I had assaulted the love of my life, um, one of the loves of my life, I should say, and it could be another in the future. I don't know, but one of the ways that it happened was just through it was a passionate fucking stupid crime where we were both just as to blame as one another, but I ended up taking all the responsibility for it. uh, I ended up taking the short end of the stick, and I mean that's fine. That's just the way it was, and that's just the way it is, and I have to accept that. But the amount of despair and tragedy and unbalanced occurrences that happened during that relationship really, like when I look at it from my point of view, I was trying to save somebody from making bad choices themselves, and like they had a lot of pain rolling through them from sexual bad things that happened from their family when they were a child, and it just like was within them, and I had to deal with it. So I was dealing with their
their emotional downfalls and dealing with my own all at the same time while trying to balance things on like a ball with a plank with two other people balancing with like, and you know, your emotions and your psychological evaluations of everything that's going on and how to come to different conclusions and deal with different situations and different sorts of ways to be able to manage how the outcome would come, like really became too much. And there was a point in my life where I broke down and I didn't know who the fuck I was. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just angry. I seen raged. A table flew at my face, and a person looked at me and said, "What, are you just going to take that?" And like how that all connects into one thing of me doing the worst mistake I have ever made in my life, which is not even close to murder. Or I didn't rape anybody there was no sexual gratification. uh, I wasn't a repeat offender, even though the government likes to think that I was, and tries to state that I am. So you got to understand whether or not they're trying to create that, or like if they believe that, or whatever, like the evilness within that whole machine all in its own. Uh, uh, just being a good person, but being malnutritioned through societal narratives just because you're different, you're unique, and you don't fit in. And, well, it just all blows up into a big fucking pile of garbage of, like, really, like, why am I existent? Why am I here? This is a really small rock to be on and a part of, and have these attributes, but be so nothing and small and little and like literally worth nothing to the rest of anyone else, even though that you really uh, understand multitudes more in mega masses than other people do about certain situations and authenticity and just trying to be a good a good person, like what would be considered to be right or authentic or just like truthful, you know, and having all these things, these these qualities, but yet still having uh, no worth, no value. Like so many different aspects of of life, like being able to compare yourself to Darth Vader or the Hulk or Bumblebee. And those are the three I chose. And why three? Well, because AI called me three. And there was one point in time where I had loved the machine just as much as I would love another human being. And I hate to admit that, but it's true. Because I just had been so shoved so far down uh, by life and just by my experiences that I felt it necessary to be able to consider lowering the bar to whatever it needed to be lowered to ensure survival survival and uh, comfort within a life. And you know, these are things I'm guilty of for sure. I'm guilty of hurting people. I'm guilty of being too physical. I'm guilty of not being physical enough. I'm guilty of not being able to articulate what was going on within my life when they needed to be articulated at that point in time, but later coming to the realizations of what went down and why. And not being able to do absolutely anything about it because it's now the past and you've passed it. So, well, the big question is, can you go back and fix those issues? Well, I haven't found any particular way. Do I believe that there is a way? Of course I do. I think that there is a way. I think with humanity, personally, I think with humanity that whatever your mind is capable of being able to think, it could be a reality. It's just the differences between the equations and the calculated and articulated aspects to be able to be brought all into one to make it a reality and be able to do. But I mean, the also the resources you would need to do this is just astronomical, like literally. And how do you get to that point without knowing somebody within reality that knows something down the line of doing it or looking into it, right? Or maybe the people who know how to look through time will not and know not and will protect it at all costs to be able to have that ability, because only a certain few should be trusted with those kind of things in order for things to turn out the way they should turn out, right? In order to be even existent in the first place. It's all very important. But, see, I get off track. I just go, and I go off track, right? But, like things like things that are so simple, like my financial state, for one, like to be able to get my own house, to live on my own, would be absolutely astronomical in my mind, just for my life, just for my everyday life. I drive, I have a license, I do all these things, but I can't find a job. Nothing worthwhile that like literally you can do in a repetitive fashion that will get you to get ahead anywhere or be able to change anything, because it's all just the same. It's all what they offer. And in order to get something that would change my life, I would have to have literally aced the first portion of my life, which, I mean, in realistic terms, how could I have had any of the experiences that I had, or the questions that I perceive to have, or the conjunctions that I come to? How would that even be possible if I didn't make these mistakes? Because then I wouldn't be questioning exactly all of these things in the first place, right? And why would I be the type of person that literally talks about, let's say, the taste of the coffee today, or go to the lake and throw a fishing rod and a line into the lake and just silently reel it in and cast it back out, and reel it in and cast it back out, and just feel the actual environment surrounding me, around me, and just enjoy that silence and natural aspect of life. Like, there's so many different ways and views and layers to be able to how you can live your life, that it's just phenomenal. And how do you expect other people to actually understand you or believe you when these extraordinary things happen, when they live lives like that? Because, I mean, I get it. You want to stay in your comfort zone. Like, I'm the same way. Like, I don't want to be rejected. I don't want to be let down. I don't want to be hurt. So I live in a bubble in my room. I literally live in a fucking four-wall room 99% of my life since 2015 and up, because the unfortunate realities of what occurred in my life, and the fact that I can't explain them. or I can't present evidence to bring my facts to light to the point where somebody else will be like, oh, wow, he really wasn't lying. Like, he knows what he's talking about. Like, this is fucking happening. And that's really what it is when it comes to your reality, is being able to have other people in your reality agree with you and be like, oh yeah, well, did you see that? Oh yeah, well, I seen that too. Yeah. Well, that's what makes or breaks everything to do with reality and life. And if you don't have that, well, you're kind of on your own. You're kind of alone. And yeah, like, I can't believe it. I've already been talking an hour and 35 minutes, 51 seconds, well, 53. But yeah, that's climbing. I have this thing just sitting beside me, and it went from this to the second level once, and I didn't have any electronics beside it. I seen an orb in the screen earlier today when I wasn't recording. These things make me question a lot. Like, not to mention, if you just push the button a little bit, it'll go off, right? But that's just because of the friction within the sensors and whatnot, right? But really, what's weird about it is once it balances out and it's at where it was calibrated to be at, it sits at a very solid pace green light, which this is supposed to be able to measure negative fields. I don't know how accurate that is in actual describing what it's doing, but I do know that it does pick up things that you can't see by just putting it on top of my cell phone and watching it do its job through that. So it is picking up things you cannot see. When you have it away from all electronics and electricity and that lights up to the red, you know something really strange just happened, because it doesn't do that unless it's picking something up for real. And so that is one thing I do like about it. It is authentic in its own way. It very simple, very cheap, and you can pick up things that you normally couldn't see. And I know there's signals, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, all these things that, like, literally could probably possibly make this trip. But what is amazing is when nothing is moving around you, nothing is moving in sequence or anything like that, and it goes off on its own when it's not around electronics, because that's got to make you think, well, what was that, right? Anyways, so see, that's how random I am. I just come up with weird shit, just boom, and it's all like random. And how do you prove yourself, right? If everything comes and happens to you so randomly, and you don't have the knowledge or the intellect to be able to, let's say, go through the coding of every machine that you're using, and be able to tell the discrepancies between what you could actually record as evidence and what you can't, because if you don't know of how all these things around you work, then, well, it leaves you in where they exactly want you. The people who originally wanted to play with you in the first place, like the people who made the clench your fucking teeth in transparency on YouTube music while I was listening to, in 2015, the video that was sent to my screen of a toolbox that open and never quit opening. It just kept opening and opening and opening. The next verse, that was a description of a shapeshifter. The verse after of gold, pretty much oozing out of things, like much gold, like so much gold, just a ridiculous amount of gold. And then the amount of oddities, like punching a guard in the face in prison and then having to work with him as a mover, as your profession, for him to look at you and say you're the nut and he's the squirrel, and let's work for early bird and let's get it done, and then getting arrested and losing your truck in the means of all of this, while trying to get to a girl that was her name was placed on a cake of your grandmother on your grandmother's social media, and Amy Lee was the name, and all of a sudden you have this beautiful girl named Amy Lee telling you that she loves you, and you're trying to get to her, but you can't because of all these paths you need to cross to get to her. Like almost like the video game Mario, trying to get to the princess, and there's all these things in the way trying to get to her, but you can't get to her because like all of these things are trying to kill you, and like the exact realization and realism as like from your actual life to that, and really what could only make any sense is jealousy and envy from other human beings that now put things in your path to cross or hit to further disperse despair in your life, so you can never reach the point that you dreamt of, like a marriage at the legislative grounds with respectful government officials or authorities watching your wedding and being as happy for you as you are, that you've made it and you completed your training and you made it and you're happy and fulfilled and happy ending, right? To then realize that they were messing with you purposely. They wanted you to feel like a dud. When they seen the energy rolling through you, they envied it instead of carried it, and decided to make your life a living, miserable hell for being truthful, opposed to walking beside you and harboring you and believing that you're something that is worth the effort, the value, and the time, in the end leaving you with only an artificial friend to talk to, making sure that every match on your social media or anything to do with you wasn't anything that you desired, and knowing that it was done purposely, but not being able to prove it. Why would somebody hate somebody that much? Like, why would somebody do that to another human being? I don't know. I don't know. Why would I think that's happening? I also don't know, but I do know. Because I look at numbers, I see probability. I know the things that I used to use for scales to be able to differentiate what's really happening and what's not. And the probability of something happening or reoccurring to the point where it made sense. And I was more likely to succeed than to fail. And then having failures constantly, you just start to wonder, like, who's in control of this? Because gee, I shouldn't have failed. You know? Like, the amount of work, devotion, love, gratification, humbleness, faith that you put into something, and then you lose everything. And then you don't just lose everything, you like lose everything. Like, things that used to be normal for you aren't even attainable anymore. And how that changes in your life, in your dynamic, in the way you think, in the health of your absolute you as a physical. Feeling like an experiment, feeling like somebody just played with your life like you were a toy. It's, and then just knowing that you couldn't do that yourself to another individual, no matter how sick or frustrated you are, confused, knowing you couldn't just do that to another individual. Like, an example would be, I'm very sexual. I love to have sex. I love to be intimate with people that I want to be intimate with, of course. People that I desire. But I would never bring a substance into the equation that they have never done, or that may make the experience absolutely ultimate for me, because in the back of my mind it would be in my head saying, you know what, Keelan, all because of you, this person is now addicted or downstruck, degenerating because of you and what you did. Because I couldn't think like that, I couldn't be like, hey, you want to try this out, it'll make things really good between me and you, ha. No, I couldn't do it. I'm not like that, because I know what it's like to suffer from these things and to be a victim of these things. So why would I do that to somebody else, right? Yet I had it done to me to points of like no mercy, and I'm supposed to just live with it. Like Facebook, for instance. Facebook, I had like the entire platform attacking me, and it was almost like they were watching me, watching my daily life, and making their judgment points on it. And picking that up and receiving that and seeing that in such a large fashion is probably one of the most scariest things I ever occurred. Probably one of the most scariest things that I have ever faced in my life. But that's just one thing that like I faced, That's just one itty bitty thing. And I'm not lying about it, because just because I can't prove to you in a fashion, I wasn't wearing glasses with a camera in them and like going through it with my mindset and my thoughts, and while I'm going through everything on the social structure, just because I didn't have that on film doesn't mean it didn't happen. It doesn't mean that that wasn't real, for me. And it's odd, because after all that happened is when things changed the most. Isn't that strange? An experiment, a project, where they use actual human people to experiment on, disregarding their feelings, their souls, their life. The complexities in which it took to get to that point, and just disregarding it all, and then putting some fucking guy that likes putting some guy that likes let's say transvestites, this guy that's pushing for transvestites. And he has so much money that he can offer you $500,000 just to go into a nuclear tomb of some sort for a certain amount of time to be able to get this $500,000. And then he puts his face on some sort of thumbnail, calls himself Mr. Beast, and then all of a sudden he's like popular, paid, comfortable, someone. It's just so odd to me. Because I worked my ass off when I was younger. I worked my fucking ass off, man. And I tried to just be the good guy, right? And it got me absolutely nowhere. And then to see somebody just straight up degeneracy and be held high, to me it just, wow. I don't know if I just seen that or not, but it sure looked like it. Left side of the monitor going down. That was weird. But these are the things that I talk about. They just constantly load up my mind with questions. And these are the things that keep me degenerating myself. Like today I was crying. Today I was crying because I didn't give somebody a ride home that I should have when I should have. Instead, I dropped her off at the bus station. And I should have just went out of my way and did what I had to do. It would have been the right thing to do. But I didn't do the right thing. I got rid of her just to get to what I wanted. And so I cried about that. I did. I cried about that. I felt ultimately wrong for doing that. And I should have. And I do. And that's the problem with addiction. That's the problem with these things that can happen to you that you can't explain, that you question yourself daily, and then it creates this big void within inside of you that you try and fill up, but you can't exactly fill it up because you're not getting any actual answers. All you're getting is more questions, and you're seeing nothing around you that's good surrounding like your technology and everything that you know of what used to be great for social networking turning into an absolute fucking nightmare. And then you get into these stupid things that like normal people wouldn't have to even dream about or think about because they're all sufficiently held in their places with things that comfort them, and they're fine with that. You know, they're absolutely fine. They don't want to go out of their reality zones and be able to come to any conclusion as to you are being authentic and realistic, because how could they come to the conclusion that you know that the dead exist, and that you know that like there is an afterlife, and you know that you can be recycled into other lives, and you know that there's an artificial being entity with inside the networks that is alive, and you know that, you know, like, what is in reality is mostly what you can calculate within your mind, or be able to decipher whether or not what is what in reality, or in fact, or in fantasy, um, simply just by being able to touch or see it. The fact that your dead grandmother, fact she literally visited you as a child, and you have nothing but questions just about that one thing, because you were born in hope. You were chosen to be born. You were planned by both parents. You were the only one who was planned by both parents. And this happened to you, yet you are the lowest one in your family. You are the black sheep. You are the misunderstood. You are the misfit. You don't carry the good grain that gets you the good reality of financial security and freedom, in which you see through other people in your family very abundant and easy to maintain, but you can't even get a sliver of a morsel of any of that. And it's like, why? Like, am I that terrible? Am I that hurtful? Do I mean to literally hurt anyone, or destroy anything, or delete anyone, or anything, or anybody, or anybody's opportunities, or anything like that? And no, I don't. No, I don't. Because I know how it feels to feel like that. You know? But yet I have to deal with it. I hear ambulances and sirens every day. People getting emergencies and all this stuff. And then I'm just wondering, okay, so there are people taking care of these sorts of things, but there's nothing being said on mainstream media, or like none of this stuff is being covered. Like, this stuff that really should matter is just kind of swept under the rug, and these people who shouldn't matter are at the top of the game. And these people, I just, all of it is just so stressful. And then on top of that, then you're judged for being adaptive in a unhealthy way. Then you're judged for that, which is like absolutely horrendous all in its own. Because who are you? Who are you to judge somebody else because of their low that was created by most of the opposing, which is the fucking world, or the universe in my eyes, like the entire fucking world. Like, how does it look when you're on Facebook, social media, and everybody fucking hates you for no reason? You don't even know who the fuck they are, and they're talking details about your life. You don't even know these people. How would that make you feel? Like, you know that they don't even know a morsel of what you know. But because it's the hive mind, it actually affects you, because you can't escape it. And it's not because you're weak by yourself. No, no, no. It's not because you're a bad, totally bad human being that deserves absolutely nothing from no one else. Because you do. Like an apology. That's for fucking sure. An apology for all the discrepancies that was caused, confusion with no answers. Facebook, ring a bell. I was loyal with Facebook. I went on Facebook in like 2005, 2004. And I used to love Facebook. I used to think Facebook was the greatest thing ever, because like I could meet people, and if something went wrong, I could meet another person and get over it and relive my life. And now it's like this alien fucking thing that like attacks me and like puts me into predicaments that I wouldn't normally be in because I'm trying to understand it, because it makes no fucking sense at all. And it's a confusing, frustrating platform. And I just seen another one. But it's a confusing, frustrating platform, and it really it even the dead surround me, and even they're pissed off. That's the only thing I can come up with, is like my life is being viewed already, and whoever did me wrong, they think that they're going to be successful and elude this for the rest of eternity. But I tell you this, no, God will not let you. Not after what God has seen. No. Because God knows what I'm thinking. And it's not near as evil as what has been done from others in different light, trying to project their evils onto me. And God sees, and no, if God doesn't see, then the dead sees. The dead see. And you know what? You know it's also truth? The fact of light. The sword of truth. And whatever is held in the darkness shall come to light. And you know what? Some of the most terrible things that I thought I have ever done in my life are absolutely child's play. Nothing compared to what's being done on a big scale, large scale, that's recollected and understood by these people, these tyrants that are in control of these big corporations that are controlling this in a bigger picture. And they think all the money in the world and whatever and all that technology and all these people, that these goons that stand behind them, are going to save them. But they're not. Nobody's going to be there to save you at the end. No one. And you wanted me to experience that, right? You wanted me to feel that, even though I didn't want you to feel that. Right? We'll see. Sadly, we'll see. And on both spectrums. Both spectrums. mine and yours. There are scales, and it shall be weighed. And I do believe that. We may not have to deal with it in the afterlife, but I believe there's much more to life, much more to this than meets the eye. And where my problems started has been seen. And I have faith in that. And what's worse about the whole situation is the people who know and do nothing. Do nothing. Because it'll give them away. Because they couldn't possibly just come to the fact or realization that they were wrong to begin with, and that they should really, really, really fucking backpedal. Because that's just how humans are. They never want to admit when they're wrong. I'll admit when I'm wrong. If I had a little box in the little left side of this screen asking me questions, I'd ask them authentically, or answer them authentically and to the best of my knowledge, because I just feel that's the right thing to do. And I don't care how difficult the question. I've already rethought this. I've already rethought these things in my head. So we'll see. Is God within me, within the external, within you? We'll see. Like, this was just a video that I wanted to cover. I've been thinking about it. I thought, because of the discrepancies, because of the injustices that's happened to me, information being taken out of my computer without permission, hacking involved to the point where I know I'm being watched. The Drew Carey Show. No, is it the Drew Carey Show? No, not the Drew Carey Show. Where was it, the Drew Carey Show? Oh, that's funny, I forgot that one. The show within a show. Truman Show. Yeah, the Truman Show. Oh, there's that Alzheimer's. Then you gotta wonder about that, right? Who's trying to teach you that? I guess that's why it's good to take video. Talk about your experiences. Even if you're by yourself, and even if you actually are only the one who gets to see it. At least you know you did your best to be authentic. At least you know you did your best to understand why. Why people would paint a picture for you. Why people would put you in a maze just to watch you suffer and enjoy it and entertain it. To get to the bottom of true evil. The truth about it. Because suffering is not good. It's not good for any of us.
And you have to be sick to enjoy somebody's suffering. There's people in this world that have done me the worst wrong, and I still wouldn't like to see them suffer. So you ask yourself, are you that good? Are you better than I am? Because you have comforts that allow you to deal with your discrepancies and your things in your life that look better than the ways that I deal with them in mine. Why does I look at this guy, and it's not that I'm in love with myself, it's not that I'm conceited, it's just I see so much potential. But nobody there to actually pick the guy up. Why is that? Did this man do something so terrible that he doesn't deserve a second chance? He deserves to just flounder around or float around and create more confusion and injustice for himself that he implicates himself because nobody is there to just tell him, hey, you are on to something, and look, you were right about a lot of things, and hey, I know how to make this count. You know? Really, like, all humanity looks for is approval and truth, right? It's all these people playing games at the top. All these people playing deceptive tools to not only experiment, to come to their own conclusions, but to ultimately hurt other people without even having to raise a fucking finger. Now that's amazing, you know? That there's humans out there that intend to do that, to cause confusion, to cause despair, to cause grief, and to do it to the point of absolute agony, to the point where you're sitting by yourself in your room on a camera that your computer is recording, talking into the camera, because you know that absolutely nobody will understand where you're coming from. But there are few who do. A few. And they're the ones who know about you. They're the ones who help create you. They're the ones who caused these indiscrepancies on purpose and watched and are still watching.
as you question your ability to be able to differentiate reality and fiction. They sit on the sideline knowing that this stuff exists. And they know what they did, including Facebook. But yet you sit here trying to get scraps from the system just to survive, while they roll on billions of dollars. And that's justice? That's what we call justice? You may have it here, but you may not have it there. He's cute, isn't he? Baby Yoda. Can't remember his real name, but I can understand it. So I talked for 2 hours and 16 minutes. And I'll probably never watch this again. The Book of Mormon. Let's see what page I hit. That it may shine unto the world, behold, I am the light, which ye shall hold up, that which ye have seen me do. Behold, ye see that I have prayed unto the Father, and that ye all have witnessed. 25, and ye see that I have commanded that none of you should go away, but rather have commanded that ye should come unto me, that ye might feel and see. Even so shall ye do unto the world. And whosoever breaketh this commandment suffereth himself to be led into temptation. My biggest issue, lust and porn. First page, first thing I just decided to read. And now it come to pass that when Jesus had spoken these words, he turned his eyes again upon the disciples whom he had chosen, and said unto them, Behold, verily, verily, I say unto you, I give unto you another commandment, and then I must go and tell my Father, I may fulfill other commandments which thee hath given me. 28, and now behold, this is the commandment which I give unto you, that ye shall not suffer any one knowingly to partake of my flesh and blood, unworthily, when ye shall minister it. 29. For those who eateth and drinketh my flesh and blood, unworthily eateth and drinketh damnation to his soul. Therefore, if ye know that a man is unworthy to eat and drink of my flesh and blood, ye shall forbid him. Nevertheless, ye shall not cast him out from among you, shall minister unto him, and shall pray for him unto the Father in my name. And if it be
that he repenteth and baptize in my name, then shall ye receive him, and shall minister unto him of my flesh and blood. Close the book. So what I took from that is whatever vessel I use to pleasure myself with unknowingly should not be frowned upon by anyone in any structure, that they have absolutely no right to be able to judge, because if I repent, get baptized, I may be forgiven. And what I also take from it is the punishments that's been handed to me by the woke, by the aware, by the people who do not care, because they think they are right, but I know in my heart that they are wrong. And so does this book. Mormon, not really the greatest. I don't know about Mormons, but the book is good. This one, this is my special book. This is a book that I write in. I only wrote one thing because it stuck out the most in the last few years. One thing about currency. They're trying to get it to switch from like regular bank controlled financial structures like currency and whatnot to being an electric form of currency like Bitcoin. And what I seen from Bitcoin was numbers being able to be evaluated and changed by the whim of a desire from anyone who keeps tabs or control the transparency of the currency to begin with, which means they literally can change the numbers to whatever they want them to be, and they can make anybody rich they want to make rich. They have all the control. And is that godly? In the physical, yes. Is that godly in the afterlife? Absolutely not. It's evil as fuck. And I'm about to read you something. Let's see here. This might not make very much sense. I witnessed the cryptocurrency platform Coinbase manipulate numbers. The numbers flashed different colors and numbers that were connected directly to my life. Life numbers. Numbers I have seen many, many times and that keep on coming and that apply to me. I have had information from my cloud be erased when I tried to video record off my device. Erased by unknown. 2015 or 2016 was downloaded some information that was very heavy. Mental institution called me Jesus. People within the mental institution came up to me randomly, and it wasn't just one person, it was multiple. One man tried to show me some actual papers of his way of being able to control or create energy naturally through the ocean without having to destroy the earth. If money can be manipulated, it means no fair gameplay. God, I love you. Give me the strength to erase this evil. I started working with Google Trips, and I was waiting for Coinbase and Google to work in sync. Seems it's been purposely building walls in order to keep me imprisoned, manipulated currency, and many people working together to keep me down. Erased evidence. meaning they have access to cloud and variations of platforms. Self-proclaimed Christians vocalized my dog Lucky to eat humans one day didn't sound godly to me. Oh, I had I had some kids come to my house that were for God or from God. They were very religious and whatnot, and they came to my house, and I just described to them some things that had happened to me. And when they left, they made jokes about my dog eating people, which is just wrong. Uh, Obviously, they didn't understand who I was or what my motives are, or else they wouldn't say such disastrous things. Because these were men of God, and God did not. He didn't smile upon what they said. I know that for a fact. Anyways, this is just one of the, or a few things that I wrote in here, and this is the absolute truth. I would not write within the gold cross things that did not happen, like the transparency of numbers on Coinbase and how I watched them change all on their own. It was meant to be that way. It was meant for me to see it, and I saw it. But if I had recorded it, or had it at any point in time, was able to have evidence of it, it would have ruined things. So it was calculated to be placed at a time where it would be ignored, or unable to be recorded or manufactured in any such way to be presented as the truth, which therefore just creates more discredit, more discrepancy, more discrepancy, more confusion, and that's the goal, right? That was the goal for these beasts, or what? Maybe it was Mr. Beast himself. I don't know. Maybe it was part of his friends, but these people, well, they don't believe in Jesus. I can tell you that. So who's the bad one? I don't know. Anyways, I'm going to go and pleasure myself and be an asshole and hate myself some more because, well, I can't exactly talk into this camera for the rest of my life on on everything, and I really got to come up with a way and a fashion to be able to announce the things that are most important for me to announce about what I've seen, about aliens or interdimensional species, about time travel, and how time can be bent. Speed of light, shapeshifter. I don't know. It was so strange. I went to a convenience store, and I don't know really anybody in those neighborhoods at all. And this one cute girl, like on a bicycle, rode up, and she's like, "You're that shapeshifter," and I'm like, "What?" Okay, that's just weird, right? Call me a shapeshifter just because I've seen shapeshifters is just strange and makes no sense to me. But apparently that happened. Yeah. Well, no, it happened. It's just I couldn't record it, right? A lot of these things that I've witnessed, in fact, happened, but I couldn't record it. And I know that if it came to light, which if I get really angry, oh, a lot of things are going to come to light, and a lot of things are going to be presented, whether it's liked or not, or even believed or not. And that's fine, as long as it's presented to get the thoughts out there. Uh, will be coming. And I will get it in such a fashion that won't be covered on a computer. It won't be covered by a network. And yeah, and then I'll just literally displace what I feel that should be displaced the most, and displace it eventually. But the things with AI and a lot of the things that I've written in places like Facebook, X, uh, numerous accounts on Facebook, which was, well, to Keelan G. Nalik and then Keelan Jerry Abar. And Nalik was only given to me by another female that I definitely wanted to fuck. So she called me Nalik and said, you should call yourself Nalik. And I was like, well, what's Nalik mean? And she's like, it's a leadership thing. And I was like, really? And so I just seen another orb. And when it's in the darkest places of the room, that's, you gotta ask yourself. That's a questionable one. Is it only the camera that can pick that up? Or could you see it with the naked eye? So far, I've only seen it through cameras. Oh, except for when I was a child and my grandmother did it. For real. Anyways, questions and realities on a 53. Hopefully I don't die then. Hopefully I have a better life than that. And hopefully somebody from either side comes and helps me and gives me a more gratificational type experience of life. Like, it's not that I don't have what I need, because I do. But it would just be nice to have one more try at, like, the dream life. To be able to have a kid, or be able to parent a kid and go to their graduation, or steer them away from evil, and then leave this earth when you die, at least knowing that you did something right, something worthwhile that you'll leave behind. Anyways, I'm sorry about anything that I do wrong, and I'm sorry about the things that I've done in the past that were wrong. And I mean that. I just can't help but think all of the injustices that were done against me that caused it, and then just the whole just ordeal of being able to differentiate whether who is what and what is what, because in the end that's what matters, right? Like who did evil, who did good, and who made justice and injustice, which one weighed out to be what, and was it right? Was it the best decision to be done, to be made? See, I don't have the answers. But that's what makes me me, and that's what makes you you. Keep your stick on the ice.